Hello, everyone. Dr. White here with some tips on working with JavaScript in the browser. Um, I'm thinking about the beginning of our sample programming assignment on random content. And remember, the idea is that you want to insert a random YouTube video embed for one of the five Bungra artists that are in an artist object in the custom.js file. So in VS Code here, I've got index.html open, and I've got custom.js open. And in index.html, there's this div whose ID is Bungra, and initially it's just got this embed in it. That's actually, I think, an embedding for the first artist in the list. And so, when you try this out, you're not going to get random content. You're just at the beginning of your problem. You're just going to get that one embed. How can you verify that? Like, how do you actually see these web pages? Well, what you do is you just go to your favorite browser and open up a new tab, and then say File, Open File, and it's going to look locally in your computer. And so you can use your Finder or your Explorer or whatever to navigate to the index.html that you're interested in inspecting, and then just say Open. And sure enough, we get just the embed from Ms. Scandalous, the first argument, the first artist in our list. Okay, so back to VS Code. We want to experiment a little bit to see, to explore around, see what we can do with the artist object and what we can do with the document object model to maybe start to think about how to modify what shows up in this index.html. So heading over to custom.js, where we've got const artist, says this array of objects is the first thing to find, and then we're off to our assignment of writing some more code to do the random embeds. I've got here some code I experimented with, and at the moment it's commented out. But I want to show you the effect of trying out some of this code in custom.js. So let me first uncomment this little block here. You can do that with command / or I guess control / on Windows. And now when we save this, if we were to go back to the web page, we should be able to see this printed out somewhere. Let's see where. What do we expect? Let's see, we expect it to print out the string artists, and then we expect it to print out the array artists. Okay, well, let's head back and press the refresh, and gee, we only see the same stuff. Where is artists? Well, it's actually in the console for your browser. How do you see that? For Google Chrome here, I'm just going to right-click and do inspect. I believe that works in Firefox too. You right-click and you get something called inspector. There generally is also something in one of your tabs that will, in one of your menu items that will let you get to the web inspector as well. So it all depends on your browser. I'm going to pick inspect. Up comes the web inspector. And the tab that's on top right now is the elements tab that kind of shows you the HTML. Really, it's kind of showing you the document object model. And you can click on various parts and isolate pieces of the web page. At the moment, though, I'm interested in console, because that's where JavaScript is sending out its printouts when you ask it to do console.log. So, for example, we get the string artists, and here's the array, and you could click on the little arrow, and you could get, oh, indeed, there's 5 elements, element 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and each of them is this object. So you could look at element 0, for example, and see the birth year, the link, and the name put out kind of nicely for you. So you can use console.log statements to take a look at what kind of stuff your JavaScript file is actually producing for the browser to use. You're also going to get typically a bunch of errors and warnings associated with maybe how your your indexed HTML is interacting with other pages that it's calling down, like maybe YouTube. There'll often be some messages having to do with old CSS and things that the browser doesn't like about it. And so these things in yellow can generally be ignored. Okay, back to VS Code. Let's comment this out again, and let's look in the next little bit here, dealing with that div whose ID is Bangra. And so we're doing a document.query selector on the CSS selector for ID Bangra. And so we're going to get that div, and we're calling it Bangra. And we're going to print out that little piece of the document object model to the console. And we're also going to print out its inner HTML property and just see what that looks like. So we save our results, head back to the page and press refresh. And sure enough, the div comes out as this whole thing here that I'm waving my mouse around. And if you click the little arrow, you'll see the iframe inside it. So that's that little DOM object. And the next thing that's coming out, the stuff that has the iframe with no little arrow next to it, that's just the inner HTML property for the Bangra div. Back to VS Code, choose something else to look at. How about we isolate the iframe itself in the document object model? So we're doing a document.query selector, and then we're looking for the iframe that is within whatever element has ID Bangra. So that's how CSS selectors would work to locate. And save this, head back, refresh. And so underneath the introductory string iframe, we now see that iframe as an element of the DOM. You see the little button in front of it. Okay. Lastly, let's work with a particular artist. So we'll uncomment this. And the third artist on the list is Sukhbir Singh, born in 1969. So he would be at index 2 in artists. So Sukhbir here should be that third object in the array. We'll console log it out to verify that. And also, why don't we do this? Let's change the inner HTML property of Bangra to be the following link. Now, when I do this, I realize I need to define Bangra, so I better go back to where we set up the Bangra variable, so I better uncomment that. And I'm going to change its inner HTML property to be an anchor whose hyperref is the value of sukhbir.link. And the link text is going to be the value of sukhbir.name. Okay, so once again, the very useful template string literals with the backticks in JavaScript. Okay, so that should change what's inside the div. No longer going to be an embed, it's going to be a direct link to the video. Will this work? Let's see. Refresh. Sure enough, we get a link to the video. Ta-da. Back to the web page. So when you're working on a program assignment for JavaScript in the browser, then you're no longer running JavaScript in the Node runtime. You're running JavaScript in the browser's version of JavaScript, and in order to see, and so you see your results in two ways. One, on the web page itself, when you make JavaScript change what's on the web page through the document object model. But the other way that you can see results is by having JavaScript do various computations and then console.log those results out to the console. And so the console.log approach is a really good way of kind of exploring and then checking to see if your explorations are going to give you the results that you really want. So we're nowhere near a solution. All we've done is put in a direct link instead of like random embeds, but we're at least figuring out how to explore. So hope that's helpful, and see you later.